Introducing Taco Bell's new jalapeno citrus salsa with bright citrus, real red jalapenos, guajillo chiles. Usually, you add sauce to the food, but when the sauce is this good, the food is just there to get the sauce to your mouth. That rolled quesadilla, not a rolled quesadilla anymore. Now it's a sauce shovel. Taco Bell's jalapeno citrus salsa. Get it with any item on the Cantina chicken menu while it's here. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only. While supplies last. Contact store for availability.
Happy Friday, and hey now, welcome to Scott Fox After 9. It is time for a Listener DMs episode, but as I've been doing the last number of weeks for Listener DMs today, I'm still going to weave in some content because there's some things we need to talk about, not the least of which the announcement yesterday from Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. They're now going to have a referendum on whether or not they should have a referendum on separating from Canada. And to be honest with you, at first I thought that was the stupidest idea. But the more I thought of it, and the more I considered some of the legal arguments around separation, I'm starting to think maybe Danielle Smith isn't as crazy as I thought. She might actually be mitigating future legal challenges by doing it this way. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I want you to hear exactly what she had to say. That's coming up in just a few minutes. First off, let's jump into the DMs. First one is from Brandon. Scott, I sent an application to Mark Carney for $250 million to sell him parts for the Snowbirds, but I don't have any. Hoping he sends the money and then I can close up shop. Haha. Also, we should play a game when you play a Mark Carney clip. Over under on the amount of times he says and ah. Okay, well, hey, that's 3 weeks in a row now that somebody has commented on the Prime Minister's speaking style. I've defended it. If you want to hear what I had to say about that, it was in last week's episode and in the week before's episode. I think that's just his speaking style. I'd like to think that the and ahs is him trying to think of the right thing to say, but I don't know. It is hard to listen to. I don't disagree with you, Brandon. Now let's jump into some audio. Let's go to last night. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith addressing the province.
This premier will not have a legal mistake by a single judge silence the voices of hundreds of thousands of Albertans. That's not the Alberta way. Alberta's future will be decided by Albertans, not the courts. Our government will therefore be appealing the decision to Alberta's Court of Appeal and, if necessary, the Supreme Court of Canada. But this process will take many months and possibly years before being addressed by those higher courts. In the meantime, under our legal system, this troubling court decision is binding law in Alberta until it is successfully appealed. This means that it is unlikely the courts will permit Elections Alberta to hold a binding provincial referendum on separation until this incorrect ruling is overturned or clarified. But there is another way to hear from Albertans while we wait for our legal appeal to be heard. That is why I'm announcing today that I will be requesting our government add an additional question to the October 19th referendum vote announced previously. The additional question will be, should Alberta remain a province of Canada? Or should the government of Alberta commence the legal process required under the Canadian Constitution to hold a binding provincial referendum on whether or not Alberta should separate from Canada? Because this proposed referendum question does not directly trigger separation, but if successful, would ask Alberta's government to commence the legal process necessary to hold a binding referendum on the matter, the recent court ruling would not be applicable, and the referendum question I outlined could proceed. This question will also ensure the 700,000 signatories to both the Forever Canada petition and the Stay Free Alberta petition are respected, and the will of Albertans is heard. Kicking the can down the road only prolongs a very emotional and important debate, and muzzling the voices of hundreds of thousands of Albertans wanting to be heard is unjustifiable in a free and democratic society. It's time to have a vote, understand the will of Albertans on this subject, and move on.
Danielle Smith, I think, is looking down the line at potential legal challenges, so she's trying to get this right now. What she's doing is this. The courts have said you can't have a referendum on separation. Well, that flies in the face of hundreds of thousands of Albertans who have signed a petition that want to have a vote on this. Okay, so now you go back to the voters and ask them, can we commence the process of holding a legally binding referendum? So this question in October is basically going to ask Albertans, do you want to have a referendum on sovereignty, separation? I guess it would be separation. Do you want to have a referendum on that? And once there's a mandate from the people to have that referendum, it more or less overrules the judge's ruling, because the way they've done it so far, the judge has put that whole idea on ice. I don't think it respects democracy, personally. One unelected judge appointed by the federal government says, no, you can't hold a referendum to decide on whether or not you want to leave our federal federation. I don't think that's right. I think Danielle Smith is on solid ground here. The way she's doing it is probably legally the way to do it. Although I'll definitely acknowledge there's a lot of people that are frustrated, that wanted to just have the vote and get it over with. There's going to be a vote to decide whether or not there's a vote. And I'm pretty sure this vote in October is probably going to succeed. Alberta wants certain things. They've been abused by the federal government for too long. There's a lot of people that want to separate, saying you can't repair this relationship. Mark Carney's not even interested in keeping Alberta happy and letting them sell their oil. So they want to have a referendum on separation. Having a referendum, I don't understand what the problem would be with asking people for their opinion. And by the way, the will of the voters should always be respected. Let's get to another DM. This one is from Jordan. Hey, Scott, here's an interesting thought I had about this. The government can't keep track of who is coming and going in and out of this country. You can see that by the immigration minister saying they've lost track of 20 to 30,000 people that are not supposed to be here and have no plans to get rid of them. They're just hoping these people will leave peacefully. Then you've got reports of people coming here claiming they are gay in order to bring friends or total strangers. My concern here is that somebody could easily move here and say they're transgender, for example, in order to switch their name and their gender and confuse the immigration system. This could compromise national security. For criminals or people that would seek to do harm to our country, they could very well come under the guise of this program. And based on the current immigration faults, we wouldn't know and we would lose track fairly quickly. Jordan, that's an incredibly insightful message. Thank you for that. And yeah, you're absolutely right. That's just one of the many ways that people are trying to exploit our system. They're using a loophole. They come here and they want asylum. If we say no, just say you're gay. And word is getting out around the world. Come to Canada, say you're gay. If you say you're gay, you are set. We're going to give you a ton of taxpayer money. We're going to take care of you. We're going to put you up. You're going to get your health care. You're going to get all kinds of different things. Just say you're gay. That's all you have to do if somebody even asks when you try and claim asylum here in Canada. A lot of people are exploiting the system. Is it a national security threat? I don't see how it's not. That's a really good message. Thank you. I'll do back-to-back DMs here. This next one from Anya. Scott, this could be a dumb thought. I give my dog tick medicine. It's a shot for the entire year. Why can't we have something like that for humans? Is that weird? Just a thought after listening to your pod. Hey, thank you for that one as well. I appreciate that. What you're talking about there is a vaccine. And it does seem like there is a wave of ticks coming our way. These ones are going to do various different things to people, including making them allergic to red meat. Maybe that's the new way that they want us to stop eating beef. Make everybody allergic to it. A wave of ticks is what they say. Is a vaccine going to work? I mean, there are vaccines for ticks. We give them to dogs all the time. Should people take that vaccine? The simple answer is I don't know. The more complex answer is very simple. There's a lot of vaccine hesitancy. If we got word that this tick wave was coming our way and it was going to make you, if you got bit, allergic to eating red meat, I think a lot of people would instantly get their spidey senses up. They would instantly start to think, wait a second, this isn't right. This seems more like an attack than something that developed naturally in the wild. And now they want me to take another vaccine. Hey, listen, there's a lot of vaccine skepticism out there. And you know what? It's justified, especially after what went on and the way our government conducted themselves during the COVID fiasco. Let's get to another clip from last night. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith.
Justin Trudeau's anti-Alberta, anti-energy policies became a national embarrassment, one of several, that ultimately cost him his prime ministership. The Leave It in the Ground NDP, led by Jagmeet Singh, was electorally annihilated. And the federal Liberals, led by their new leader, Prime Minister Mark Carney, adopted most of Alberta's positions on energy and resource development.
Okay, the Premier taking a shot there at Justin Trudeau. Hey, listen, I guess that's good for context. It's good for context to understand why the people of Alberta are so angry. But it's not exactly here and now. You know what I mean? Trudeau's gone. He's been gone for a year. Did he do devastating things to the Alberta economy? Yeah, I think he did. And he did it for environmental ideology. Do Albertans have a right to be angry? Well, I mean, I think they have a right to be angry with the past. What does the future look like? The Prime Minister has been very vague about that. He still has not committed to building a pipeline. That's very frustrating. The people of Alberta deserve to have their voice heard. And I say that as a federalist. I do not want to see Alberta go anywhere. But you can't deny they were massively mistreated by the previous government and somewhat by the current one. In fact, a lot of the people in the current government were in the previous government as well under Trudeau. They did everything they could to screw Alberta. Well, now Albertans have had enough. People in Alberta watched as Quebec held the nation hostage many times with threats of separation. Well, they caught on. It works. You get what you want that way. And it seems like that's what Alberta's going to do. Is the threat of them separating real? I don't know. To be honest with you, I really don't know how they're going to vote. I would like to think that Albertans are also proud Canadians, but I certainly understand their position on this one. Next DM is from Kim. Hi, Scott. Once in a while, I flip on 680 News. And that's news, by the way, in quotations. And I just so happened to hear a few months ago them raving the World Cup is going to bring in so much money and not going to cost taxpayers much at all. Yeah, okay. I remember you and Anna saying, we don't need this nonsense here. It'll end up costing way over budget. And guess what? Now the flip-flop. They're saying this is going to be a big hit to the taxpayers. LOL. Kim, yeah, I mean, I hate to say I told you so, but again, I told you so. The World Cup is going to be a boondoggle. We're going to spend a lot of money that we don't have to try and bring an event that the vast majority of regular people can't afford to go to and couldn't get tickets for it even if they did. It's an extremely expensive proposition. We've got to stop bidding on stuff unless there's an actual realistic return on investment. And if we're going to lose money, we got to accept the fact that we're broke and stop trying to get these events. This next DM is from Carrie. Hey, Scott, here's one for listener DMs. My thoughts the moment I heard Doug Ford was extending alcohol sales till 4 a.m. during FIFA. LCBO sales are way down since his attack on U.S. liquor. This is a sly way to shoot those numbers up for optics. It's bad enough we're being told what we're allowed to drink. That's a real great message from Carrie. Carrie, thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. Doug Ford banning American alcohol, I think that was stupid. Although now that he's done it, I think it would be a mistake to put it back on the shelves at the moment, unless he's going to sell it off for charity so the taxpayers don't lose tens of millions of dollars on this. The provincial government is abusing the LCBO, and they're doing it in provinces across Canada. They're abusing it, and they're abusing us taxpayers. They don't think that we're responsible enough to make our own choices. Doug Ford did the exact same thing during COVID. Didn't think people could make their own choices, so he made them for people. And he's going to keep up that trend. Is he doing this to try and boost the numbers at the LCBO? I don't know, because I still maintain that the World Cup is going to be a complete and total bust. It is going to lose so much money. The amount of people they think are coming are not coming. The gridlock that they're predicting, they're predicting it because of the security that they're setting up for it. But I don't think it's going to be because there's so many people that are trying to get to a soccer game in a stadium that only holds less than 50,000 people. It's crazy how they're gaslighting people about the World Cup. It's going to be a bust. The taxpayers are going to get hosed. What do we get out of this? Maybe a little bit of advertising. There's people around the world that are going to watch those games. Maybe they see the Toronto skyline and think, I'd like to go there on vacation sometime. Maybe. That's a best case scenario. Overall, though, I think we're going to get soaked on this one. I don't even think extending bar hours until 4 a.m. is going to save the LCBO. Doug Ford made a huge mistake taking that U.S. alcohol off the shelves. If sales are down now, he's got no one to blame but himself. He made people not want to go to the LCBO, myself included. I don't go there anymore. They don't have the California wine that I want, so there's no reason for me to go to the LCBO. In fact, if numbers are down, we should start closing locations. Just shut them down. Everything has to be profitable. If it's not, sell it. We're broke, and nobody in government seems to want to acknowledge that. Let's go to another one from last night, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith.
Now, I want to be clear. I support Alberta remaining in Canada. That is how I would vote on separation in a provincial referendum. It is also the position of my government and my caucus.
Just a quick one there. Just so everybody's clear, Danielle Smith is opposed to Alberta separating from Canada. Now, that doesn't change the fact that there's other premiers, there's left-wing politicians, there's left-wing media outlets that are trying to paint her as a separatist premier. She's the one who's trying to keep Alberta in Canada. She's the one who's trying to manage the separatist sentiment and respect their right to have an opinion, but also keep them in Canada. You are not doing yourself and national unity any favors by attacking Danielle Smith and calling her a separatist. Anybody who does that, I think, is being irresponsible. Next DM, this one is from Terry. Scott, you want to talk about government inefficiency that really frustrates me? When COVID happened, they gave everybody a CERB check. I got laid off for 2 weeks. Then I became eligible to work again. I paid $1,000 back. Next thing I know, I get told I owe the other $1,000. I have a collector call me on behalf of, or he works for, the government of Canada. I explained my situation. I said I was laid off. That's what you guys gave me instead of unemployment insurance. I paid back the $1,000, but the other $1,000 technically is mine because I was laid off for 2 weeks. You guys figured out what was allowed to be open. The collector agreed with me, by the way. He called me at 6 o'clock the other night and said, I can't help you, though. You have to call this number. The number is for Service Canada. Then I tried going through Service Canada with the documents that I had, and I got told, no, this is only handled over the phone. The phone is only open 8 a.m. till 4 p.m., Monday to Friday. Guess what? I work at the same time. Terry, I talked a lot about this yesterday. I certainly have my issues with how we're running Service Canada. This is a business that is supposed to serve 44 million people, and it's only open from 8:30 until 4. It's very muddy about what they do and what they can handle. It's extremely frustrating. Service Canada has got to greatly improve its service to Canada. And you know what? It's probably going to cost a little bit of money. Fine. Canadians need to use it, whether it's for pensions or dental care or passport renewals, Indigenous services, you name it. There's a lot of reasons people need a touch point with the federal government. It should be open and accessible, and they should be able to answer people's questions in an efficient way. Like I said yesterday, you pay a private company. You tell them every single Canadian at some point in the next 10 years is going to need to come in here, and we don't want any of them to wait for more than 20 minutes? More than half an hour? You watch how quickly a private company will move people in and out of Service Canada because they get paid by the amount of people that come through. It's a no-brainer. I'm not saying we need to privatize it. I'm just saying we need smarter people with a little bit of business experience to try and run it. Here is more from Alberta Premier Danielle Smith last night.
Approximately 700,000 Albertans have signed a petition requesting a vote on this issue. And I, as Premier, will not have a legal mistake by a single judge silence the voices of hundreds of thousands of Albertans. That's not the Alberta way. Alberta's future will be decided by Albertans, not the courts. Our government will therefore be appealing the decision to Alberta's Court of Appeal and, if necessary, the Supreme Court of Canada.
Well, that's Danielle Smith explaining why she's going ahead and doing things the way she's doing them. 700,000 people in that province put their name on a piece of paper and said, I want to either stay in Canada or I want to leave Canada. That's 700,000 people that are engaged that deserve to have their voice heard. So with opposing motions here, now we've got to hold a referendum to decide if there's going to be a referendum. If I had to guess right now on May the 22nd, 2026, about the outcome of that referendum on October the 19th, I'd say they're going to vote to hold a referendum. And then, wow, all bets are off because anything could happen. Next DM is from Leanne. Hey, Scott, did you start recording your podcast in your home studio again? Your voice sounds different on recent podcasts, and I'm wondering if you went back to recording at home. I recently switched jobs, so I haven't been able to listen at my usual time, but I do still listen to each episode that you put out. Maybe I'll save some for the weekends, too. Keep up the great work. Leanne, an astute observation. Yes, as a matter of fact, I did move the podcast back to my place, my home studio. I'll tell you why. Doing it at the radio station presents a lot of distractions. Number two, the radio station has top-notch, world-class broadcast equipment, which is great. It sounds really good. The problem is the engineer there, and I love him to death, by the way. Burry, I love you. But he goes a little crazy with the compression, and sometimes that cuts off the clips. So I'm doing it in a much more natural way. My studio is set up for a natural sound, and that gives you the audio clips with a little more clarity. It also frees up my day a little bit. You know, it used to be that when I got done the podcast, I had a 40-minute drive home. Doing it at home, I've got a bit of that work-from-home attitude. I just finish up the podcast, and I go upstairs and feed the dog some lunch and take a nap. My day is working out a lot better recording this from home, so I'm enjoying it. I hope the sound change isn't too distracting, but at the end of the day, this one works out better for me. Still putting out pods every day. They might come out a little bit later than they traditionally used to, but I'm much more comfortable here in my home studio. Next DM is from Julio. Scott, longtime listener here. Really enjoy your show. One thing that struck me from your listener DMs is the irony of Mark Carney claiming he inherited the Snowbirds issue while simultaneously taking credit for projects approved under previous administrations, such as that graphite mine in Quebec, to name the most recent example. It seems accountability only applies when it's convenient. I just wanted to point that out for Friday listener DMs. Keep up the excellent work and say hello to the great Anna Almeida for me. Julio, thank you, and I will certainly say hi to Anna for you. I was actually just with her earlier. She had to drop off her car to get some work done, and I picked her up. So that was the extent of our conversation for the week, but she is doing great on the radio and personally as well. She's doing really well. I'm going to try and get Anna on the pod again soon. There are people that ask about her. Back to your other point, though, the Snowbirds issue. Basically, what Julio is saying here is this. The other day, Mark Carney came out and claimed he inherited this Snowbirds issue. He walked into it. He didn't have any say in their maintenance all along, but now he's got to make the decision to take them out of the air because they're not safe. And while I do agree, that's probably the right decision. It's time to get some new planes for the Royal Canadian Air Force, in particular, the Snowbirds. What Julio is suggesting here is Mark Carney can't distance himself from the Snowbirds issue, but then still take credit for approving this new graphite mine in Quebec, because that was technically approved under the previous administration. That's an interesting catch. You know what? I didn't even think about that, but I think you're right. Off the top of my head, Julio, I think you're right. The Prime Minister is taking credit for approving things that were already approved. Some of these things he's advancing to the Major Projects Office. We're already in front of the Major Projects Office. Well, before we had the Major Projects Office, it was the Trudeau government that approved a lot of these things, including that graphite mine in Quebec. I really don't know where Carney is coming from on that, but I don't blame him for wanting some good news. You know, in case you haven't noticed, everyone, the mood of the country is shifting again. People were ready to give Mark Carney some runway. They gave him a year and absolutely nothing got done, and we're still no closer to working out a deal with the Americans. Now people are starting to get frustrated. All these deals that he's talking about, none of them are going to be complete for at least a decade, probably 1.5 times that. People wanted action now. Mark Carney said he would deliver action, and frankly, it was all talk. People are starting to notice, including some of the senior citizens. That boomer demographic is starting to notice. Before I get to the last two DMs, I'm going to switch gears here. I've played a fair bit of Danielle Smith. Now I want to go to our federal industry minister, Melanie Joly. Yesterday, she made a big announcement about the Defense Industrial Strategy. This one is to try and win a seat in Nunavut.
And so in that context, we've developed the Defense Industrial Strategy, la stratégie industrielle de la défense. And it's good news for the North because it's unprecedented investments here in this important part of the country. The goal is to create 125,000 jobs. So using the investments that we are making in defense to create jobs at home and better the lives of communities across the country, and particularly here in Nunavut. And we want also to increase by 50% the exports also that we're making in terms of defense, and to increase the revenues of the sector by 240%.
Industry Minister Melanie Joly suggesting that they're going to create 125,000 new jobs in Nunavut. 125,000 new jobs. Wow, that's incredible. This government is doing amazing things. 125,000 new jobs. That is something that we should all be proud of. Here's the thing. Only 40,000 people live in Nunavut. How are they going to create 125,000 jobs out of 40,000 people that live there? Are they seriously expecting 80,000 Canadians to move to Nunavut to get a job? Come on, that's not serious. Let me get to another DM. This one is from Ashley. Hey, Scott, listening to today's pod, and you're talking about Service Canada. Well, same goes for Service Ontario. I just bought a new car, and it's in my name only. Our previous vehicle that we traded in was in my husband's name. So because we work until after 5 p.m., we couldn't get my name put on the ownership for the old vehicle, missing out on $500 of savings for my new vehicle. The hours for all government services are crazy, and the waits, they're ridiculous. It's like the government doesn't care about working people. Oh, wait, they probably don't. LOL. Have a great day. Ashley, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I don't think they do, or they're that disconnected from reality. To assume that everybody can get to those offices between 8:30 or 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. is ludicrous. Everyone in this country is working different hours. 3 shifts going all the time. We've got paramedics and first responders and police officers, firefighters, all of them working 12-hour shifts that could end at any time. The fact that Service Ontario and Service Canada are open traditional office hours is obscene. It's a slap in the face to all Canadians who just want the same service level that other Canadians get. You know, think about this. If a teacher, I mentioned this one yesterday because it bugs me. If a teacher needs to renew a passport, they've got to take a day off work to do that, and we, the taxpayers, have got to pay a fill-in substitute teacher to go in and teach the class and disrupt 25 students learning. Make it make sense. These offices should be open until at least 9 p.m. Every government office should be open at least 12 hours a day so everybody has an opportunity to go and take advantage of that service. Government's not doing that, not mandating that. I think that's just reckless and irresponsible. Next DM is from Scott. Greetings, Scott. Enjoying the pod as always. I really thought that you would have talked about the new CBC show, Northland Tales. I'm very interested on your take on this disgraceful waste of taxpayers' money. Before I get to the next part of this DM, I do want to say we need a public inquiry. The CBC show that he's talking about was duping Canadians. Sometimes they were RCMP officers. There was all kinds of people that were affected by this. They thought they were being interviewed for one thing, and then the show was taking them out of context, editing stuff, and really trying to do a gotcha moment and embarrass them. Is that what taxpayer money should be spent on? Even the Royal Canadian Legion is coming out and saying we need an inquiry on this. It's a massive waste of money from a company that wastes a lot of taxpayer money, the CBC. You know, I really can't wait until we finally get a change in government. Massive, massive reforms are needed at the CBC. Second part of the message. Oh, he wants to keep that part confidential. Okay, all right, I will definitely keep that confidential. That is a police note, and I will give that its due attention. Friends, thank you for a great week. It really has been a great week. Had some really good interaction, really good download numbers right now. Seems like there's lots of new listeners that are punching in to Scott Fox After 9. I appreciate that. Here's the thing. If you're a regular listener of the Friday Listener DMs, or you only listen to a couple a week, if you have to pick one, I'm going to suggest yesterday's episode. Yesterday, I played some amazing audio from Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, talking about taxation, talking about government spending. I thought it was really good stuff. If you get a chance, listen to the Thursday episode. Tuesday and Wednesday were great too. I'd appreciate it if you listen to all of them. But if you've got to pick one, listen to that Thursday episode and listen carefully to what Jeff Bezos has to say. That is my time for today. I'm going to go and enjoy the weekend now. I hope that you do as well. If you want to reach out, if you want to talk about anything, slide into my DMs for next week. You can find me on all of the social media platforms at Scott Fox On Air. Shorter episode, but that's okay. Just means more time for the weekend. I'll catch you right back here Monday with another Scott Fox After 9.